It is my current goal to beat the game of Pokemon Yellow every single week in a solo challenge using all 151 Pokedex entries within the game. And today we are taking a look at the Pokemon Scyther. Now, I remember as a kid seeing Scyther and being like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. You know, effectively swords for hands. I know they're scythes, because Scyther, but you get the premise though, right? I see this and it just looks so cool. And I'm not a bug person, not just for Pokemon, just in general. Bugs really creep me out, dude. But Scyther is such an interesting design and just looks like he's going to be absolute peak gameplay. The problem is that I then got that Scyther more than halfway through the game, and I wasn't really finding much interesting moves or really any spot to effectively use him because he didn't have anything that was super effective against anything, especially not in Pokemon Red, which I'll come back to in just a moment here. But I ended up sitting there and beating the game with him on the team, having barely leveled up at all, having not really done much. And I just sort of thought to myself, okay, well, at least I have him. And so now here in today's modern times, you look at this move pool, and I think that you can see where a lot of these problems stem from. You start the game with Quick Attack and Quick Attack only. It is a Power 40 move. It's a normal type move. The next few moves that you learn are also all normal type moves. Leer, which lowers defense of the other one. Focus Energy, which actually is broken in Generation 1. It doesn't actually do anything to help you. Double Team, which is also a move that I have banned from these runs. Something that I could spam to maybe help in certain scenarios, but really not necessarily a game changer here. Then Slash at level 29, which isn't necessarily that late, especially considering we're going to have another scenario arise in a moment here. But Slash is a good move. We're going to come back to it though. Swords Dance, also a great move. Not only does it boost my attack, which is also one of my best features on this Pokemon, is my speed and my attack. I am a physical attacker here. The thing is that Swords Dance, moves you up +2 every time. We're also going to have a added bonus of something called the badge boost glitch that happens only in Generation 1, which is that every time you get a specific badge, which is in this scenario, every odd numbered badge, or at least in terms of odd number for the order that they want you to do the badges in. So, for example, Pewter City will be attack, then Vermilion City, which will be the third one, that one will be for defense. I'm just going to get us to there for this example. Once I have that one for defense, once I start using Swords Dance, it's going to take the badge boost that has been added on to my defense from that badge, and when it sees my attack going up because it's re-evaluating a stat, it then re-evaluates the other stats as well. So it sees that badge boost that's already happened, and then it gets reapplied. So that percentage of the defense that has gone up gets added a second time. So this is a really great thing for Generation 1, especially for people who like to speedrun and stuff like that, but even just for the solo challenges, it is extremely beneficial to be able to just have a move and know that it's going to boost every single one of my stats, and so I should be able to tank a lot more hits, and I should be a lot faster. My special, which is my weakest spot, can also get boosted through these exact same scenarios. So there's a lot of cool things that can happen for me here in this generation. But the other problem here is the fact that then the only other move that I'm really finding all that intriguing, I mean, yes, I have agility, which is going to do the exact same thing in terms of my stat boosting, glitching, is agility. It's Wing Attack. Wing Attack is a same type attack bonus move. It is only 35 power. It is extremely weak, so that isn't ideal, and it's very late in the game. I don't get that move until level 50. I'm not sure if you understand just how rough that is, but that is a lot of grinding that we're going to have to get to. It's the reason that I am attacking every single trainer, and will for the foreseeable future, is because I need to get to Wing Attack. Because if you've seen the other bug videos, you will find that I cannot get past Lavender Town without Wing Attack. And so I get what you're probably thinking, which is, oh my god, Colin, 50? level 50 in order to get wing attack? That's so rough. Well, I'll tell you this, at the very least, we get wing attack. Because to make matters worse for this Pokemon, when you take a look at Pokemon Red, the game that I had originally played way back in the day, and then I was saying I couldn't really find a use for Scyther, yeah, he didn't even get that move in that game. So at least we have something going for us on this run. It's not a lot, but we do have something. Okay, now the last thing I want to mention, I know that we've had a lot of preamble here before we get into the rest of the video, but the last little thing that I want to talk about is Slash. And the biggest problem that we're going to have with this run is having to sort of pick and choose when we are just going to go on the offensive and when we're going to choose to use moves like Swords Dance to try and boost the stats for a move like Wing Attack, right? The problem here is that, yeah, it would be so cool to have Slash, which is, a level 70 move that does a lot of damage, be able to be boosted beyond belief with Swords Dance, right? Using Swords Dance 3 times, getting to +6 on my attack. Ooh, that's going to be so nice, right? The problem is that critical hits are not done the exact same way in Generation 1 than they are in future generations. So the first part of this is the fact that your level and your speed are the two main components that kind of go into this, right? Your level affects how much of your multiplier is happening, both for damage and also the likelihood that this is going to happen. So at level 5, you're getting a 1.5 damage on a critical hit. And then by level 95, for example, you're at 1.95. So level 200, you're getting 2, right? Times 2, rather. But the problem here is that you're also then having to go with your stats that are unaffected by modifications, which is not great if you're going up +6 with Swords Dance. Then you have the probability that this will even happen. At my base stat here at level 50, I have a 20% chance, which means that, here at level 14, it's not quite as high, but it is actually much higher than most Pokemon would at this point, because a 20% chance is quite great. The big thing here is that there's a lot of different rolls that happen, and really I can critical hit quite a few times with Quick Attack, which I'll actually need in order to beat Brock. There is simply no way that I'm going to get through this at a lower level without a bunch of critical hits. Now, the other thing though is that when you have a move like Slash, it has an even higher chance. It's 8 times more likely to happen. It gives you up to a maximum of 255 out of 256 chances. So basically it means that there is a remarkably small chance that it won't critical hit. So the problem is that then if I'm getting +6, but then I'm critical hitting every single time, it's not going to give me all these big boosts. It's just going to be at, 1.8, let's say, right? It's not going to be a good enough number. So therefore, Slash will honestly at times hold me back in certain scenarios. It might not if I'm trying to go through and deal with things without using the badge boost, which, I suppose that there are going to be times where that's going to be helpful. But most of the time, Slash is really going to hold me back. And so the idea here is like, do I hold on to Quick Attack? Would that actually be better? Should I even ever have agility, even if it can boost my stats? The fact that I only have 3 moves that do any kind of damage, 2 of which are fairly weak, and another one consistently skips over all of some of my best features, which is again Swords Dance in Generation 1, it makes for a very confusing Pokemon, and for a very difficult time. In the very first time that I came here to Brock's gym and went up against him, I got a lot of critical hits, but not nearly enough to actively make a big enough dent, or maybe potentially also looking at the RNG on that, he used Bide a lot more often, which I then fed into, which of course then took out a lot of my health. But on this one, he uses Bide less, and I get a couple extra critical hits, and so I make it through with not quite that much health. I get through with 6 health up to 9 after I level up, but it's looking rough. Now, that is one of the hardest fights that I'm going to have with Scyther. There will be a few other really challenging ones for him, but that is obviously a doozy. After making our way through Mount Moon, we are now 6 levels up, And so we're going to take the time to fight, obviously, Rival 2, because we have to in order to keep the story moving along. But then we're going to make our way up to Bill's house. So we'll go through every single trainer on the bridge, the secret trainer on the left-hand side that I never fight, and then every trainer up here on Route 25 on the way to Bill's house, just because we need to get every last bit of experience. We are on the road to Wing Attack. And at this point, we're now halfway there. We have gained 20 levels since we left Pallet Town, and we're looking pretty good, actually. You know, Quick Attack, which is not even a very good move, is doing basically like a 2-hit on every single Pokemon. Never mind, Goldeen immediately took that away from me. That was a 3-shot there. Turns out I do not have any potions on me, but I still have the confidence that I can do this without healing. My special is really bad, so honestly, if they hit me with multiple water guns in a row, or even the bubble beams, I think I'd do much worse. But for whatever reason they used Tackle for Starmie, that probably could have been a win for her if she did bubble beam ×2, but instead she hits the Harden. It's a 3-hit, but we get the badge and we get to move on. Here we are at the SS Anne, and doing our typical move of picking up Body Slam. Although, if you'll recall when I was telling you earlier about the Learn set that we have here, this is one of the rare occasions where I pick it up because, again, I'm doing it off of, I don't know, habit for most part, but also, again, I'm trying to fight basically everybody. This is one of the rare occasions where we cannot teach Body Slam. Body Slam with Swords Dance would have been an unbelievable combo. So I am a little bummed that we won't get to see that today. What we will see is the rival catching these sword hands and me learning the move Slash. You'll also notice something really interesting about the math on the left-hand side of the screen here, which is, as I mentioned before, it is a 70 power move. However, because it's pretty close to, at this point, almost a 100% chance to critical hit, I think it's going to take me a few more levels before that actively happens, but by then, it'll be a statistical anomaly for me to not get a crit. And so because of that, it is calculating what that damage will actually be. So every time I level up, or every few levels, that number will change a little bit. So right now it's actually at 130, it was what, 129 when we first left or got it. And now we have already defeated Surge, which, I mean, at this point, him winning is also a statistical anomaly. And actually, now that I say all this, I actually took a moment to stop my narration here for a brief moment and look something up about this math again. And just to be clear, remember, I have said both in this video and in other videos that math is not exactly my strong suit. But I was thinking about this and about the critical hit ratio, and I came to the realization that by now we are 100% always a critical hit. The math on the critical hit ratio, at least in Generation 1, is 8 times the base speed divided by 2. And of course, if that is over 255, it automatically becomes 255. And that out of 256 is the chance of getting the critical hit. Well, at 118, for example, or even back when I was discussing this at 94, 94 divided by 2 times 8 is well over 255. So for sure, without a doubt, we are now 100% critical hitting every single time, again, with maybe a complete statistical anomaly to not get a critical hit at this point. But truth be told, I'm actually, if memory serves, I can't remember a single time from here on out in the video where we use Slash and it does not become a critical hit. Now, here in the Celadon Gym, I have taken the time to, again, kind of keep leveling up. One of the key factors here is that in my mind, I was certain that I had 5, potentially 6 rare candies in my pocket. Then finally, I got to level 44 and I opened my bag for the first time. For whatever reason, I didn't double check. And I noticed that I only had 4, so it didn't really matter if I used them here. But I was thinking originally I would use 6 to get me to level 50, and then I would just have Wing Attack and I could, one-shot everything that Erica has. And I also come into this poisoned, and so this is a lot of bold statements and moves for me here. But I also knew I was going to critical hit on everything. So I did just that, and I made it through with no problem, even without a super effective move. So, yeah, I guess I didn't need it. That being said, I am going to need it for the next portion of the game. Like I mentioned previously at the beginning of the video, I have to have Wing Attack in my move pool here for the next section, which is specifically Lavender Town and the Pokemon Tower. Every single trainer there outside of my rival is going to have a ghost type Pokemon, and I cannot hit it with any of my normal type moves or struggle. So what I've chosen to do is on my way back, instead of flying over to Lavender Town or, using Dig or anything like that, I mean, I've for sure used the Celadon Pokemon Center, so Dig would not have worked that sort of strategy for saving time. But we are going to have to go through and walk through Saffron City and stop into the dojo, where I've done this a couple of times before. I don't always show if I do, or potentially I use it if I'm desperately in need of experience points. And today it's one of those situations. I'm getting perilously close to being able to level up, and I don't know going into this if it's going to be enough, and it just barely is. We barely make it to 46, but that's all you need. Barely gets the job done. And so therefore, I can now use 4 rare candies and go from level 46 to level 50 without having to do any more grinding. And so from here on out, I can finally start letting trainers be optional again, which is a great feeling. But also when you look at that time, we're already an hour and 4 minutes in and only halfway through the badges. There's also still Silphco and everything like that, so it's still going to take us some time. So now, with Wing Attack in tow, we make our way over to the Pokemon Tower, and first we have to go up against our rival, of course. And since we are more than double his level, with the exception of Eevee, which is just a plain double, it is not hard to defeat this team. So we will now make our way through it without any issue, I guess, at this point. And boy, is that correct. Let's take a look at the next few kind of key moments, because from here until basically Giovanni, effectively, we'll cover that in a second, but it is so easy. Wing Attack one-shots everything on Koga's team. Because I am level 56, we are going to one-shot every single thing on rival Fivel's team. So that, again, is not that hard of a thing. Oh, I'm so sorry. I guess Cloyster lived on, 10 health or something like that. But, he's got a pretty impressive defense, so I guess that does track. But yeah, look at that. Not hard at all to defeat the rivals team. Of course, Team Rocket is going to go down easy peasy. And then we're going to have Giovanni, and Giovanni won't be too hard now. He'll be a little bit more difficult later, and like I said, we'll come back to that. But this is also where we make a really interesting choice, because here in Silphco, after I defeat Giovanni, I always use Dig to get out of here because, I don't need another escape rope. And of course, Dig takes you to the last Pokemon Center that you went to. I did not heal up in Saffron City. I healed up in Fuchsia City, which was good because I had somehow forgotten to pick up Surf. However, because I then dig my way out of here, I fully miss a step. And so after I pick up Surf, I immediately go to Blaine's, which makes sense, right? I have Surf, it's time to go there. We get here, and unfortunately, Slash is leaving all but 1 or 2 health on every single person that he has. So the critical hit is kind of going against my best efforts or against my best wishes. I also immediately passed out, and I could not remember if I had saved in front of Blaine. I think I got checkpoint confidence on this. So I decided to take the blackout instead of taking probably all the way back to Koga. I just sort of took that chance. I understand that's probably not the correct way. I probably could have done it, but, again, we're pretty casual on these runs. We're not speedrunning just yet. So then up next, we have this sort of second attempt And my thought was that, I know I'm not boosting my special when I use Sword Stance to set up, but I am making my defense higher. And so in the event that they go for something like Takedown or any of the other normal type moves that they could potentially go for instead, that hopefully I'll be tanking those. And then, of course, any of the things like Flamethrower or Fire Blast that are super effective against me, they'll just one-shot me. And that's just something that we kind of have to live with the fact that it's super effective against us. And Scyther currently doesn't have a lot of hang-ups once we've gotten to this point. But luckily this time he goes for Reflect, which is, again, a choice because, Slash is just going to ignore it. And so we get that badge. And here's where I realized I did not get the badge from Saffron. So there you go. Now you can see my shame. I had to backtrack, go all the way back to Saffron, and now I can go up against Sabrina. I do not save. I started to for a brief moment. I was like, why take the extra 5 seconds? Slash 3 times is definitely more than enough, and it in fact was. So after we've now finally gotten our 6th and technically 7th badge, we can now go finally back to Giovanni's. At Giovanni's, this is where we have one of our hard moments again, because a lot of his Pokemon are going to have, the ground type moves, which won't work because I'm a flying type. However, there are 2 Pokemon on this team that have a move that I completely forgot about because I feel like it's rare for me to actually come across this move. And that move is Thunder. Thunder also has a very low chance of actually hitting. However, it seems as though the concept of if it's not 100%, it's 50% really only works for you. Seemingly, your opponent can pretty much always hit it, no matter what. So I kind of desperately start using Swords Dance there to try and boost my special just in case. And it does keep me alive for 1 or 2 extra turns, but it is simply not enough to get me through the Nidos. Again, this is also another reason why calculations of the critical hits versus just using now your 819 of attack stat is such an interesting factor, because Slash critical hits are really doing nothing because it's cut in half, haha. But then all of a sudden, the Rock Slide is crushing me, and I think, wait a minute, I got 819 attack, even if it's cut in half or even more because ground and rock. Just go for the wing attack. It's boosted pretty heavily. Just go for it. And it actually works out. Plus, he also throws by using guard spec, and don't we all love those moments? So we get that 8th badge, then we move on to Rival 6. Rival 6 is not hard, and we're actually seeing the reason why Scyther can benefit pretty heavily from this kind of current lineup is that nothing is really going to give me any major issues. The 2 biggest issues would be Ninetales and Jolteon, but they're very defensively not great. So we should be able to one-shot them from here on out. But there's going to be some Pokemon that we cannot one-shot. And this has been something that in post, as I've begun to edit, I've realized that there's another couple of things I really could have learned from this, maybe in the moment. I think sometimes it's so easy to kind of get set on one potential thing and not stop to think about maybe another way of doing things like mid-run. Speaking of which, as always, I'm going to use my rare candies here and get myself up until I have 3 levels left to go, just so I can use potentially Swords Dance and stuff like that. Although it's funny because it's really not necessarily outside of one fight going to make a difference, but we'll sort of see that in action. Here against Lorelei's team, I choose not to set up. I'm just deciding to go in on the sort of slash aspect of things, despite knowing that setting up a little bit could help me, because if they don't die in one hit, they're probably going to use an ice type move, which is super effective against me as a flying type. But I choose to not do that. And listen, it worked out, so, who's really to say if it's the wrong thing to do? But as I've gone through this, I've recognized that I don't need Swords Dance and Agility. I'm just sort of leaving a third, or I guess technically a 4th spot completely open to myself. And so I've actually begun to think about how often should I really be using Slash, and could I have made a better choice by surprisingly using a TM move, could I have taught myself cut? And could I have been using cut and or wing attack much more often? And unfortunately, as I pose that idea, we have a little bit of an embarrassment here, folks. We lose to Bruno. I don't like to admit it, but we do. And I also come back into this Bruno fight. Again, this is like proof of the concept of like, no, at this point, I'm just sort of leaning into the slash and the critical hit rate and everything like that. I am not learning the lesson that was pretty devastating, and slash, even with critting, is only doing about a quarter, a little bit more than a quarter. But Onyx was more than a 2-hit, so I probably should have set up at some point against one of the Hitmons that can't probably Hitmonlee, if I'm honest, and just set up my attack and then just gone for like wing attack. Or hey, could have done cut there, who knows. But that is, again, just a sort of thing where then after we defeat Bruno, it's like, okay, yeah, I'll give you one every now and then. That's fine, that's fair. And then we move on to Agatha, who I probably could have set up against twice against that first Gengar so that I could sweep the Golbat and the Arbok, because it does take 2 hits for them. But Wing Attack does one-shot the other 3, and so therefore Agatha, a frequent wall, has become, well, kind of ghost-like. I just sort of go right through her. Then we have Lance. Lance is, like, not to keep hitting the same point home over and over again, but like this edit has really proven to me just how much I sometimes kind of start to see a pattern and then I kind of stick with it and I get a little stubborn on it. I do still set up 3 times here against the Gyarados just so things like my special and my defense are higher, because I do know that 3 or 4 of these Pokemon, technically, have a move that's super effective against me. And Fly, even though I am flying type, Fly does not resist Fly. So yeah, Aerodactyl, probably the worst Pokemon for me here on this team. Maybe the Dragonite, I don't know. I mean, it has 3 separate moves that could one-shot me. Blizzard, Fire Blast, and Thunder. 2 of them super effective against my flying type. 1 of them super effective against my bug typing. So, you know, there's just sort of a thing here where I'm, you know, I've got some hindrances here. And, you know, the Thunderbolt for the Dragonair 1, the Ice Beam for Dragonair 2, either one of those moves could also take me out. So I can't exactly set up against them. It has to be against the Gyarados. But the Gyarados, of course, while it's not super effective, hits like a tank. So there's a lot of issue here with sort of the setup and where do I go for wing attack? Where do I go for slash? It's, I think, a little bit of a gamble at times. With Aerodactyl, again, the flying type does not resist the flying, but the rock sure does. But then again, I'm sitting at 954 attack stat. So it's kind of, I don't know, this is just one of those things where I really wish I understood math a little bit better with 954 and a 26 power move. Am I doing better by using wing attack there? I mean, it certainly does a good number of damage against the Aerodactyl the second time I hit it. And for sure takes out the Dragonite in 1. So, hey, if you're much better at math than I am, which is, again, not hard to do, let me know how early I should have figured that out, I guess. But now we are finally up against the champion, and it's just as I said previously. Slash is going to one-shot pretty much everything. I can wing attack the Exeggutor, and it does two-shot it because I didn't do any kind of setup. But even with no setup, I am doing just fine. The hardest thing that we dealt with was Aurora Beam. And honestly, I think even if it had gone for Ice Beam, I don't think it would have made a difference. And then Slash one-shots the Ninetales and the Jolteon, and therefore at 1 hour, 42 minutes, and 11 seconds, just shy of 12 seconds, we have won the day with 6 resets and 1 blackout. It's a slow start. It's a very slow start. But then once you get past Erica and I guess technically the Pokemon Tower, it really picks up pace. It gets a lot easier to go a lot faster. And potentially I'm seeing the capabilities of trying to do a run where maybe I'll still keep Slash and I'll still use it from time to time. Because listen, the critical hit is nothing to shake a stick at. But knowing that I've got Swords Dance, maybe I should be using Wing Attack and again, potentially Cut far more frequently. So we'll have to come back and just sort of see what kind of extra tidbits we can learn from this Pokemon, because who knows, maybe Gen 1 Scyther is better than I thought he was. But for now, that is where we're going to leave it. So thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far and you haven't already subscribed, would love if you consider hitting that button or commenting, liking, sharing. Anything that you do that interacts with a smaller content creator like myself helps us out a lot. And I am trying so desperately to not have to keep taking on more and more freelance work so that I can have more time to make more content for this channel. So anytime you interact with me, it really helps me out a lot. But thank you so much for watching. Be kind to yourself, be excellent to one another, and I will see you all next week for another solo challenge in Pokemon Yellow.